May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our bit to help preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have a guest, Ty Sheridan. Ty came to the Zen Center and he came to Tassar in 71, and you'll hear the rest. That's when I met him. And he'd been hanging out at the Berkeley Zendo and going to sessions in the city and hearing Suzuki Roshi's lectures and that sort of thing. Ty has written a number of books. I had to take a break from here. I got a call from Fetty in Java. So many Muslims have gone to Java for, what do they call it, Libaran? It's the end of Ramadan. So he does fix-it stuff here, carpentry. Very nice carpentry, but he can do anything. And we need his help. We got a couple of leaks. Anyway, he just called, so that sort of threw me off. Let's see, where were we? Oh, okay. So, Ty Sheridan, he's really got a unique path. It's sort of non-institutional. And he had some profound experiences early on and continued practicing, and he has shared what he has learned and what he has to offer with a number of books, which he makes available for free in as ebooks, and also now he's done some new ones, which are a distillation from several of them and some new material, and he's made them available to you on through Cuke.com. Urges you to make a donation to Cuke Archives if you wish, but you can get it for free without any donation or promotional emails. Just go to Cuke.com, Cuke.com, and you can just write TAI, Ty Sheridan, Sheridan, in the site search box, and that'll go to his page, and you'll see the books there that are being offered for free download, with urging to give a donation to Cuke.com, which is we really appreciate, because we don't do enough fundraising. So I'm glad he reminded me of that. Oh, I guess I should add here that the way you make a donation to Cuke Archives is just hit the donate button on the homepage and a lot of other pages on Cuke.com and on ShunryuSuzuki.com. And also, if you just go to the bibliography page of Cuke.com, they're listed there. His website is TySheridan.com, T-A-I, download. I'll just read you those. And then there's, on his page, there's a whole list of books, a whole bunch of them. They're short books, Buddha in Blue Jeans 5-book Zen anthology. Gift EPUB. Zen Heaven and Hell. Plum Blossom Zen Contemplating Dogen. Buddha Charita. It's Buddhacarita. I said Charita. In Indonesian, C is a CH. Buddha Carita, Buddha Sarita, Buddha Charita. Anyway, he says, Buddha in Blue Jeans series are contemplations I wrote expressing Zen practice and living and Buddhist thought. Anyway, you can read more. It's quite a list on his page on Q.com. And he talks about all that in the podcast. And I think that's enough of an introduction. It was really great talking with him. It's a very Dharma-focused podcast. But we get a little of, his life and all that. So when you hear the bell, if you have such a mind, hit pause and meditate or whatever for as long as you wish. And when you're ready to end the meditation or whatever and come back, hit unpause. And we'll be here to hit the bell to end the meditation or whatever. And we will give Larry Sheridan a call. Oh, yeah, Larry, I forgot. Yeah. I knew him at Green Gulch, too. I knew him at Tassara. I knew him at Green Gulch. So, but he'd sort of hung out more at the Berkeley Center and had a decades-long, very close relationship with Mel there. Bet you'll hear about that. Anyway, okay, here we go.
Hi, David.
Hi, Di. How you doing?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah. Real clear. Real clear.
Oh, good. I'm on my phone with the speaker.
Yeah, so. It seems fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's excellent. So, look, what are you up to these days?
Well, I'm retired. I live up in Port Townsend. And I've got two kids up here in the Pacific Northwest, one in Seattle, one in Portland, and then two boys down in the Bay Area.
Uh-huh.
And I'm doing, I've been here 6 years, kind of settling into new friends and just leaving the past behind. I'm writing. I'm doing a lot of creative writing, short stories. And you know it up here. It's so beautiful. So
yeah.
I'm enjoying Washington a lot.
Yeah, we love it there. We love it there. Well, what sort of creative writing are you doing? You said short stories, like what?
Yeah, short stories. Well, fictional short stories. I have a book ready to go that's 30 short stories about an 80-year-old man and a 75-year-old woman who meet up in a third marriage, and they're goofballs and tricksters. So the stories are about how they encounter each other and deal with problems they encounter in the world, in the neighborhood, and they tour around a lake on a tandem bicycle and basically love and adore each other, and it's a tribute to the resilience of old age,
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I can appreciate that. Now you got a bunch of other books. Yeah,
I do. It seems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, on Q.com, we've got your books, and you got, we got your books listed. Hard to keep up with all of them. You've got TaiSheridan.com, TAISHERIDAN.com, right?
That's right.
And
what?
go on. Go on. I'm just saying your books.
What I recently did was I took a bunch of the books and I made them into. A lot of them were very, very short, and that was intentional because my feeling is I want to appeal to a wide audience of people who might not have teachers around or a monastic setting or the training. And I wanted to create an open invitation to Zen and practice. So I have used plain English and short books and brief introductions and a poetic contemplative style of writing. So it's not intellectual. It's kind of aimed at the heart, right, and the spirit.
Yeah.
And I think it struck somewhat of a responsive chord in people. So I put them together in these anthologies. So, it's easier now to get a hold of them, I think. It'll be easier for people to get a hold of them.
Yeah. And am I correct in saying that they will be able to be downloaded for free from Q.com?
Well, not only that, I'm thinking what I would like to do is once you let me know what you'd like to do. If you'd like to do that, we'll figure out the form of it, and then I'll send you the right copies to use as your download. And I would like to see benefit come back to you, David, in your efforts and Cube.com. So you're welcome to put if you'd like to donate, all donations. As you don't have to mention my name, but certainly I would like to see all donations come back to you and your efforts to keep QCon going,
Well, I appreciate that. It's I don't do enough of that. I'm fundraising challenged.
Well, I hear you.
but they'll be free, and someone can donate. Good. And how do you see this donation work? You say donate to. There are donate buttons on Q.com.
Well, that's you set it up however you like.
Yeah.
I have no need for. I'm well settled, so I have no need to earn money off the books, and I have no need for recompense. So you take the books and whatever mechanism you want to use for a donation button, just label the button however you want, PayPal or whatever you're going to do, and
it's already there.
Link it to your account. Yeah, link it to your account.
Yeah. All right, great. I appreciate that. That's terrific. Yeah, because we do everything for free. I say we because there's people that help me with Q.com. And then gratefully accept donations. That's great. Well, look, now tell me specifically about the books, their names and what they're about. I want to hear.
Okay, are we recording this? What are we doing here?
We're recording from the moment you said hello.
Well, okay, I'll have to live with whatever comes out of my mouth. The books are, let me tell you how I ended up writing these books. It was complete accident. I needed to separate from sanghas, and I didn't know how to keep my vows, to benefit everybody. And one day in Marin, I was reading on a warm spring day, looking at Mount Tam, and I was reading Dogen, Shobo Genzo, and I was really enjoying it. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if anybody could just enjoy this the way I am? Well, I thought, why am I enjoying it? Well, I'm highly educated. I've been practicing Zen a long time. I've gone to classes on Dogen. I read him a lot. I can puzzle with it some. And he's very difficult and quite impossible. Mm-hmm. So the thought I had was, if I could turn that into poetry, that would be the easiest way And immediately following that thought, I thought that is ridiculous and impossible. So I parked it. I parked the even idea of doing that for about a year. And it just sat on my shoulder and pecked away at me once a month. What about that idea? And about a year later, I said, well, look, I'm going to prove to myself that it can't be done. So I said, I got to find something simple and something from nature and something appealing and not priest-oriented, I think, just written that could appeal to anybody. So I picked Suki on the moon. In fact, I could read it to you in a bit if you like. And that
say that again. Say that again. You took what?
The fascicle from Shobo Genzo called The Moon.
Oh, ski. Oh, really?
Ski. Yeah, ski. Yeah. Tsuki. I don't know. I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, they swallow their U.
Oh, good.
Ski. Yeah.
So I wrote 12 of them as odes and in praise of things. And I got that from Pablo Neruda wrote a bunch of odes that I liked. Things like Ode to a Tomato and Ode to an Artichoke, right? Very commonplace things. And so I use the opening line, I whisper praise, to begin each one. And after I studied Dogen, I realized about 80% of his stuff is very repetitious. It's redundant. And that was encouraging. So that meant I only really needed to understand about 20% of it.
Yeah.
And in that book, I followed his logic because he has a certain logic, he lays out his thoughts. And I used his images, but I amended them. I kind of felt like I was melding with his ideas, and I added some of I merged my imagery with his. And then I set a format of 6-line stanzas and 6 of them for every poem. So I did 12 of them. And that was my first book. And I was enthused. And so I went on to do Bendowa, and and then is it Tenzo Kokyun? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Right size. I call it.
Yeah. That's received a lot of attention. The instructions to the cook.
Yeah, that's right. And he says, handle rice as if it's your own eyes.
Right.
So I picked that off as the title for the book, Rice Eyes.
Uh-huh.
So those were those 3.
Well, what's the title for the book?
Plum Blossom Zen, Contemplating Dogen.
All right. Yeah. So is that the first book? No, what's the...
Yeah, that was my first book, the first 3 books. And, I don't intend them to be substitutes for Dogen or exact translations of Dogen. But I think Dogen was a poet, and a lot of his works are talked about intellectually. But, he was a Zen teacher. So you can imagine 1,000 years ago, he's speaking to his monks. He's probably had a lot of energy, and there's a certain kind of caring that often will come through. So anyway, I was aiming to make them accessible to people so that people would be, some people, Lee de Barros, in fact, used this with his Sangha at San Quentin, side by side with a more traditional translation to help people get a feel for it, And that was my interest, that people would have a real feel for the what's behind the imagery, not just Dogen is not a mental exercise, right? There's something very deep about prajna and insight and understanding the interconnected world. So I tried to bring that out through poetry.
Wonderful. Can you read some of it?
Why don't I read the very first one I ever wrote? Because this is almost 15 years ago, and it's the one that got me going.
Yeah, do.
So, okay. So it's called Ode to Moon. I whisper praise to lovely round moon, my own true body, vast endless space. Moon in water, rising as whatever. Moon not new, not old. Tonight's moon, not yesterday's. You can't count how many. 1, 2, a zillion. Give up comparison. Settle into now. I walk on earth with mind moon, full and complete, swallowing everything. Mind is moon, moon is mind. Subjects, objects, meet in moon. Moon is moon. Living, dying, the moon. Coming, going, the moon. Day, night, the moon. Swallowing the moon is realizing myself. Retching the moon is going beyond realizing myself. Forever, many moons. The cloud and moon walking together, not starting, stopping, beyond, beginning, ending, in quiet contemplation, a truly lovely moon. That's it.
Cool. I can hear Dogen in that. Yeah. That's cool. That's great. That's great. Well, keep going. You got other books. The one that gets the most attention is Buddha in Blue Jeans. What's it called?
Yeah, Buddha in Blue Jeans. So after I wrote my first 6 or 7 books, which were a real struggle because I had to study all the material and work hard to put classic texts like the Dhammapada and other things from like the 1st through the 16th century. I had to struggle to put those into contemporary poetry. And one day I said, well, just talk about what you've learned. And that's when I wrote Buddha in Blue Jeans, which is an incredibly short book that has touched a lot of people, which I'm very glad for. And I think my main idea is to present our practice in extraordinarily simple words and make it accessible to anybody. So I didn't use any Sanskrit, no Dharma terms, nothing intellectual. I really tried to speak to the heart and the spirit. And that's important to me. To do that. And I felt I was departing some from the traditional practice that I was trained in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But somebody just told me the other day that I was surprised that she just read a quote on some meditation site that was a quote from a book of mine. So they seem to have made it out there. There have been quite a lot of downloads. So Buddha in Blue Jeans ended up being the very simple one, but the next one I wrote is Zen Prayers for Repairing Your Life.
Say that again. Say that again.
Zen Prayers for Repairing Your Life.
Oh, yeah.
And that, I think, is a very helpful, useful kind of practical book that when I use it with groups, I just say, well, somebody here pick something that you feel is important to you, and then let's read it. And those are 5 stanza poem. They're contemplative poetry. Like here's one for a prayer for loving kindness. And it helps. My idea there was to help people focus on the deep essence of about I don't know how many, 80 to 100 different kinds of aspects of our life. There's prayers for being Buddha, prayers for cultivating virtue, prayers for accepting reality, prayers for difficulties, and prayers for bringing benefit. So I kind of chunked them. And if you want, I would like to read one of those for you.
Yes, indeed.
Let's see where it is here. And then you get a feeling for what it is. And the opening and the closing stanzas are the same. So, you know, in poetry, sometimes we repeat ourselves. And that kind of, for me, it felt like in prayer, completing a circle. If I started and ended with the same stanza, it takes you down the block and then brings you back home.
Yeah.
So here's the, and you get the idea of what I did, I think, if I read one of them to you. Prayer for loving kindness. I use the word I because I feel these are very personal. And when people use the word I, there's a chance to really get in touch with your deep, authentic self. And it doesn't limit the sense of what you are, but I feel these two ideas of a psychological authenticity combined with your spiritual authenticity of your Buddha nature and the Buddha that you are very important to integrate. We feel there are two pieces of work, you know, right? Awakening and then cleaning up our karma. And I think this book is a kind of a cleaning up your karma book. So, prayer for loving kindness. I open my heart like a lotus blossom, waiting in silence for boundless love to fill my pores and like the sun, warm the world. I am ready to release myself from hungering after people as if their love will save me from my suffering. I am ready to release myself from my jealousy of the love others share and which I miss during lonely hours. I am ready to release myself from thinking that love can be found outside of myself and that my own heart is empty. I open my heart like a lotus blossom, waiting in silence for boundless love to fill my pores and like the sun, warm the world. That's it.
Read another one.
Yeah, another one?
Yeah.
I'll let you pick it. Here's some options. Breath, clarity, embodiment, now, today, balance, contact, ethics, focus, forgiveness, generosity, honesty, humility, integrity, intuitive wisdom, light, patience, responsibility, self-restraint, truth, vitality, birth, dying, illness, living, old age, sorrow. You'll notice those are all in a kind of group there that's really very much about the three marks of existence. Prayers for difficulties, animosity, doubt, fear, foolishness, hunger, laziness, possessiveness, self-centeredness, withdrawal, worry, benefiting life, community, forgetting myself, friendship, intertwining, self-study, sympathetic oneness, and a wish for the world. So that's, you know, I just read you the table of contents.
Yeah, that was a good poem too. Do balance.
Balance. Prayer for balance. Okay, page 48.
That's what, that to me, that's what is really lacking in a lot of the world today.
Okay, well, here we go. Prayer for balance. And this comes under the section called Prayers for Cultivating Virtue. A little bit there on the gentle way of mentioning the Noble Eightfold Path, right? So, prayer for balance. I open to being balanced in my thoughts, emotions, speech, and actions so that harmony will prevail. I am ready to catch myself falling out of balance by paying attention to the experience of my body. I am ready to transform the passions, energies that throw me and to carefully observe my reactions to people, events. I am ready to return to balance by sensing my feet on the ground and by breathing and centering in my belly. I open to being balanced in my thoughts, emotions, speech, and actions so that harmony will prevail. That's that.
Good. I have a question I want to ask you, but I don't want to ask it until you feel that you have, you're satisfied with what you have had to say about your books.
Oh, well, what else do I have to say? I don't think about them very much. Creativity is like that. Like, I paint also. So when you do a painting, you just do it and it comes from some place. And it's up to everybody else what they see.
Yeah.
So I think my books are a little bit like that. But I think the most important thing to me, if I think of them all put together, is that they're a rather accessible and gentle way of contemplating being present and being connected to yourself and everything in a pretty subtle and both loving way. So they're about what the core is, what the essence of our practice is, without any fancy trappings, nothing extra. Doesn't require robes, doesn't require an ordination, doesn't require a group, doesn't require anything of you. This is just your basic existence already. That you and I have spent a lifetime playing in the field because we know how difficult it is to cultivate these things. So we've been lucky that we've come to practice. But I think it's good that other people don't feel it used to be, I think, in old times, that it was important to the Zen teachers to have big barriers to practice so that a student would show sincerity and really be committed and delve into the depths of their own living and dying and the meaning of existence, all the big things, meaning, connection, living, dying.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be a more, here's a meal and you decide how you're going to eat it. I don't need to control anything or have a say in how you're going to find your way. And a lot of people have ways that don't look like our Zen ways, but are very, very touched by the power and depth of Zen. So I think I was aiming for a kind of a universal contemplative style that is Zen, but doesn't look too Zen, I don't know, something like that. Mm-hmm. More, just very open, very open.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Well, where were you born?
Well, I was actually born in Spokane, Washington, but I was, since an infant, I was raised in Southern California.
Oh, where?
Well, in the West Los Angeles area.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And what, just looking at it in terms of the way-seeking mind story, when did you, what's your earliest point in your life that you could see that you're sort of wondering what it's all about or challenging the story you've been told or whatever?
Well, it happened in a very precise moment that turned my whole life, actually, David. And it's still with me. It never left me. I was 19 and in Berkeley, and it was the quarter before I graduated UC Berkeley. And I was standing on a corner on a spring day. It was a beautiful day. And, you know, Berkeley was the center of the universe then, right?
Right.
Of the counterculture, right? And I'm standing at Telegraph and Bancroft.
Yeah.
And there are falafel carts and Hare Krishna people, and the sun is out, and colors everywhere, and the bustle of Telegraph Avenue. And the light changed, and I went to cross the street. I'm in the crosswalk, crossing from like Sproul Plaza to Telegraph Avenue. And the sun, for some reason, the sun was at an angle. It was like noon, that it hit my cheek, on my right cheek. And I'm in the middle of the crosswalk, and for no apparent reason, three thoughts flashed through my mind, just fast as could be, a nanosecond. The first thought was, wow, I'm alive. And the next thought was, one day I'm going to die. And the third thought is what's carried me to this interview, really. It's formed the whole of my life, was that if I don't understand in some deep and profound way what it really means to be completely alive, I will have wasted my life. Now, when I had stepped on the curb, I knew my life had completely flipped over. I was absolutely clueless what to do about it. So I went to Mediterranean bookstore and Moe's bookstore and the first Shambhala bookstore. I bought every book I could, because at the time that's the only way I knew how to learn. And I bought every book I could on Eastern religion and modern psychology. And I had an occasion to spend a year overseas in Switzerland, and I brought 3 crates of books, and I read them all. And among them was, you know, the classics, D.T. Suzuki and Eugene Herrigel, and I think I read Paul Reps, you know. And I decided over there, and I didn't know it was a vow, but I had made a little decision. I said, when I go back to San Francisco, I'm going to study Zen until I understand it.
What year did this happen to you?
1969.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to do with that, but I said, I'm going to study. So somebody said there's this place called San Francisco Zen Center. And I walked in the front door, and that's that.
And when was that?
About 1970, 69 or 70.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 1970, maybe. Mm-hmm. And then a very young Bill Kwong in black robes and a shaved head gave me my first Zazen instruction. And he said there was this guy in Berkeley named Mel who was teaching. And I lived in Berkeley, so that's when I first met Mel, with that whole crowd of people that then later on would become Zen teachers. And that was a wonderful time in Berkeley. Mm. And then I met you about 2 years later, I think, because you had to sit for 2 years and get approval to go to Tassajara at the time. So that's when we ended up sawing wood together.
Yeah. You were at Tassajara in 71, right?
I think that's when it was, right about then.
That is when it was.
Yeah.
Because
Suzuki Roshi's last year, I think.
Right. Because we've got on Cute.com, I have, I don't know, some diary of yours or something. You wrote some really nice stuff about that. And I really appreciated some of the things you said, like about Paul, what's his name? Paul
Anderson.
Paul Anderson.
That's right.
Yeah, he's the person who answered the door to Sokochi when I first went to Zen Center. and
Oh.
he was fixing the organ at Sokoji.
Uh-huh.
He got it all fixed up, and so they could sell it because they weren't using it. And yeah, and it was bought by some museum in Nevada City.
Huh.
Yeah. Anyway, I just remember you appreciated him, and he was a quiet, sort of self-effacing guy.
I did appreciate him.
Yeah, and he had arrived very early at Zen Center, like 1960 or something.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know when. Yeah, he disappeared.
No, I don't know what happened to anybody. He just disappeared into the woodwork, and everybody lost track of him.
Yeah, he was living in the city. Jack Elias was roommates with him, and Jack said Paul felt very guilty about being homosexual, and hadn't it bothered him, and it was a little late or a little early for the gay pride thing had sort of already started, and but Jack felt that had something to do with it. Anyway.
What a shame, because, Isan, who was also there,
yeah,
of course, we know what he did. He went on and founded a Zen center and was a really important teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. He and I were roommates. Yeah, it's funny. He didn't really emphasize gay identity or anything like that. He just was himself. But he was certainly not guilty about anything.
Right. That's great. He was something. I remember.
Yeah, he was great. Well, what do you remember about Zen Center when you came there? I mean, what was it like when you arrived?
Well, when I first came, I came to the Page Street building, which is so impressive. And, of course, I was very young and had not been exposed to anything. So I was very naive, but bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I'd say. So it was very impressive, the tatami mats and the Buddhas and the shaved heads. I didn't know what to think about it, but I was very sincere. And over in Berkeley, of course, so my practice got centered in Berkeley, but I'd come over on weekends to sit meditation or hear a talk by both Suzuki Roshi and whoever else was visiting at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And practice was interesting. It was a combination of, I found meditation initially very difficult, but I loved it. I felt that I took to the whole practice. And when at the first Berkeley Zendo, we used to go outside afterwards in the afternoon, and there were these palm trees. And I'd look up at the palm trees in the sky, and everything seemed very clear and just wonderful. Kind of like the world was announcing itself to me. And it wasn't until I was at Tassajara that I had a really critical experience. I don't know if you remember, what's his name? I want to say Yasutani Roshi, but that's not who I'm thinking
Tatsugami.
No, yes, Tatsugami I know, but there was another young priest there.
Yoshimura.
Yoshimura was very nice to me.
Yeah.
And what happened to me is one of those early mornings, 3:30, 4 o'clock, you're walking out or in an afternoon. I'm walking along and it was rainy and I stopped at the base of one of those trees where the water collects.
Mm-hmm.
And I followed a drop coming off of a leaf as it hit a pool. And inside my mind, I went, the water drop just fell off the leaf and landed in the pool. And I was amazed because I think it was the first time I realized what it meant to live in the present moment. And before that moment, I think I was, I don't know where I was, in my head or my thoughts or my identity. But that moment of clarity really helped me realize the importance of sitting still. And that helps the mind settle enough that you can see what's in front of you. And by the end of that, Yoshimura said the nicest thing to me. He said he'd watched me. I didn't know what to make of it. He said he'd watched me all session. He said I discovered my child's mind. And I went, oh.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Your what mind?
My child's mind.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very sweet. Yeah, the innocent mind. I think it was his way of saying beginner's mind. But anyway, something fresh, my receptive, fresh mind. But I also learned at Tassajara, the other thing that happens when you sit meditation was that I was an emotional mess, that my psychology and internal life was unbeknownst to me. And that's when I realized I needed a lot of help that wasn't part of the Zen way. I needed therapy, and I needed to learn about my personality and my relationships and my addictions, and I needed to discover who I was. So that's when the other part of all that reading came into play, where I started reading Rollo May and psychology. And so that's been the direction of my life, somewhat to heal myself and somewhat to help others, What does psychology offer and what does Buddhism offer? And that continues. It doesn't end. I'm still sorting things out and sitting quietly.
Yeah. That's good. Keep going.
I don't know what to say.
Well, just anything. Tell me anything else you remember about Tassajara.
Well, I remember. I remember what Tatsugami Roshi said to me in two different situations. When I was interviewing him, he said, what was I interested in? And I said I was interested in psychology and Zen. Of course, I had limited experience of both at the time. And he, in his gruff way, sitting over his little brazier in the morning, cold morning, said, do psychology first. Then you'll know why you need Zen.
It's good.
I thought that was very interesting. That stuck with me. And then at another time, in one of our ceremonies, I said to him, where you have I think it was a closing ceremony. I said I was afraid of death. And his response was, isn't that why you've come to study Zen? And I said, yes. And that was very core because I think this issue of what is it to be alive and how do we deal with our mortality and the losses that we're going to sustain throughout our life, and how do we deal with loss and our own and this crazy ego identity that we're frightened of letting go of. Those have been very close issues for me personally and have driven my practice a lot. So that's a memory of him. But Tassajara is what a beautiful place, the baths and it's interesting to be there in the baths with Katagiri Roshi and just the whole thing was very powerful experience and very hard for me. It was really difficult. I was not having fun, but I think the practice impacted me a lot. It got me going. It got me going.
Yeah. And so you were there you came in for the winter-spring practice period of 1971,
Right.
which is the last one that Tatsugami did. And did you stay in the summer?
I didn't. I went on and ended up traveling to New Mexico, where I met a mystic teacher for a while, who I followed to Mount Shasta, and then I met Jiu Kennett Roshi.
Wait a minute, but who was the mystic teacher you followed to Shasta?
Well, I didn't follow him there. I met him there. He wasn't a teacher as much as a mystic, and he became a very dear friend of mine.
What's his name?
His name was Bill. His name is Bill Quinn, and he was one of the first men I loved deeply as a friend and a mentor. He's about 30 years older than I, and I moved in with him in a little poor trailer. He was the caretaker of the free clinic there. And we would meditate every morning looking out at the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. And Bill had dropped out of Harvard because Kundalini ran through him, and he became a student of Krishnamurti's.
Oh.
And he was a very interesting guy, a tall, lanky, absolutely broke, brilliant kind of scholar type who was steeped in meditation. And he had a brother who was a professor of Chinese literature at UC Berkeley, and Bill turned me on to Li Po and Tu Fu. He turned me on to Chinese poetry.
Huh.
So we would meditate in the morning and read Chinese poetry. And my Tassajara experience started to ripen some. And then he had to move to Mount Shasta, and when I visited him there, I met Jiu Kennett Roshi.
Yeah.
And I did a session with her. Mm-hmm. And that's when I first experienced maybe something that I ended up calling big love in one of my books. Mm-hmm. But and she helped me deal. It was overwhelming, actually, and she helped settle me down and confirm that, I touched into some kind of you can call it whatever you want. Big love, loving kindness, compassionate love, objectiveless love, kind of that love that permeates everything that I think goes part and parcel. It's part of the Shin thing, It goes when your mind doesn't separate things too much anymore. You also feel very, it's grace. I think who was the head of the Diamond Sangha? Who was that?
Diamond Sangha is oh God,
the founder of it.
Yeah. One second.
He wrote a lot of books.
Yeah.
My memory's shot.
Yeah, I'm just having a senior moment. I know.
Yeah, me too. Anyways, I sat with him and read him a lot because he had a lot to say. And he used to read his lectures. He wouldn't talk spontaneously.
Yeah, but Robert Aiken.
Robert Aiken said that all we can do is sit there and become receptive vessels. That's all we can do. We don't do anything.
Yeah.
You just empty yourself out. And one day, if you're lucky, grace will descend. Well, I was very young, and I hadn't done any psychological work, but I feel like I, for no particular reason, was blessed in having some deep experience of this big heart thing that is just massively, it's felt like the warp and woof of the universe is all I could say. I don't talk about it much. I'm surprised I'm talking to you about it. I keep it to myself pretty much. But it's behind everything that you can't have a sense of non-dual intimacy of interbeing and not feel it's incomplete without this feeling of profound loving kindness towards the whole world, towards the universe, towards everything. It's indiscriminate. It doesn't discriminate. It just goes everywhere. It's like water just spilling out of itself, So she helped me. I'm very grateful to her. I have a very different practice than she was doing. She was making some effort to modernize and anglicize Zen.
Anglicize, right.
Yeah, but I think her way is not my way, you know. But I think making Zen more contemporary is helpful for some, and there'll always be die-hard monastics. That's great, you know.
Yeah.
That's great. There's just a big continuum of how I think Zen can be practiced. So, anyways, I followed her around. Then I went back and I did Berkeley and Green Gulch. I did a lot of Green Gulch, a lot of Berkeley. Sat a lot of sessions. Been in and out and around and about, you know. So, but always sitting. I sit every day. I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't sit every morning. So that's what I do. I just sit up and sit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
How was your relationship with Mel?
Oh boy, absolutely dear. Mel was like a father to me. I've had Thanksgivings with him. He came to my birthday. He said, "Hey, come over to my place. Quit, stop going to Green Gulch so much. Come to." Mel asked me to help. You know, I have a consulting background. We were very dear. We stopped formal interviews and we used to go to lunch together all the time for decades. And of course, I knew Liz and Daniel some. And felt very much a part for a time of the Berkeley Sangha, even though I wasn't living there at the time. I was across the bay. And, you know, I think I had a real feeling for Mel, and he honored me. He asked me to come help with, consult when there were Sangha problems a couple times. I'd work with the board and the community to be helpful. And he had me, he asked me to help SZBA get reformed after it died. You know, they started the Soto Zen Buddhist Association of American Zen teachers.
Oh, it died out?
Yeah, it died out, but he wanted to reform it.
I didn't know that.
He helped me reform it. So I went and coached the board of directors and the presidents and the various roles and met with them and helped them regroup. And now they're thriving, you know, they're thriving. They're big contemporary, which is great. I'm not really connected to that. I know people that I ended up becoming good friends with somebody that was the president of that for a while. But so I'm just kind of out here doing my thing, you know.
Yeah. Wow. That's good.
I don't know. I just ended up somewhere, and I ended up writing these books, which was a big surprise to me. And I was more surprised that they did well also because I gave them away. I didn't want to earn a single penny from them, and that was very important to me because at the time, a lot of Zen people were writing books and charging money for them and using them as marketing tools to bring people to practice. So I appreciate that it's very difficult for Zen teachers to find income sources.
That's right.
I appreciate that.
That's right.
I appreciate that. Everybody needs to do something. But I wanted these to be I needed it to be absolutely clear that I had no self-gain in this. This was strictly my way of attempting to share some of the benefit of my own practice and out of tremendous gratitude to many teachers and sanghas. I mean, a debt that could never be repaid, right? All the teachers and all the sanghas who taught me, guided me, put up with me, dealt with me, you know, right? Anything that happens when you get all those marbles rolling around in the same space.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful, and it seems that I thought I was going to teach and lead sanghas, but it seems that that's not. Mel thought it would interfere with my creativity, and he was right. But I ended up being kind of creative with trying to express a little bit about what's going on here with our practice, you know.
That's very interesting. Mel said that. That's
yeah. Mel knew me well.
Yeah.
He knew the ups and the downs and the sideways of me. And I practiced with Steve also, you know, Steve Stuckey. So the two of them ordained me when I was ordained. But then it became time to just go my own way.
You
So I did that.
ordained as a priest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I did. But I don't feel I'm a priest, really. I like to think of myself more as a teacher-writer. I just don't feel that priest role is it's not a good one for me personally. It's not one I want to inhabit.
That's exactly how I feel.
Right?
Yeah.
But I do feel like, I'm somebody who thinks just Zen is quite profound and amazing practice. And I appreciate all the other forms of Buddhist practice we have too. The Tibetans, the Vipassana tradition, many streams. And we have so much to learn about being a Western Zen. So hopefully my books will help inch that along a little bit. What is Western Zen? Who knows? But something that's pretty simple and plain, not wrapped in robes, not wrapped in safus, not black. May it have a little color,
That's well said. What was your relationship with Richard Baker like?
I didn't have one. I skipped Richard. I skipped all the years of all that went on there because I was over in Berkeley with Mel, and Mel, of course, and Richard had a lot of intimacy in a variety of ways, and I used to be a sounding board for Mel on that. So that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Other than may we practice forgiveness towards everybody, and everybody has something to contribute. And he certainly has made a powerful contribution to Zen, and I have no take one way or the other because I don't know him.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
And I don't. It's not my job to pass judgment on any other human being, right? So I think I kind of got that.
Yeah.
And
what about Shunryu Suzuki?
About Shunryu?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know him personally, but I was around him, and I don't know what to say really, other than his presence couldn't be missed. He there was something about his presence, right? And so for me, learning about what people are like when they have cultivated a deep interior spirituality and are not all ego identified with their personality and their persona, their press release. So sometimes just, I think that Zen, what Zen has to offer is you notice, it's as much about being around people as it is hearing what they have to say. It's seeing how they attend to the garden and attend to building the rock wall and attend to making muffins and attend to bowing and taking care of their robes. And you watch the meticulousness and the care and the presence. And I guess we're all sponges. So if we're lucky, some of that goes in. And then we start doing things that way, or at least the best we can, right?
Yeah.
So he was the presence. I was around for some ceremony, and then, of course, the Uitsu came around and all of that. But I was less involved with San Francisco Zen Center then. I was over at Green Gulch. I was really more. Then I got involved with the Green Gulch crowd in the 80s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you. I was there in 85 and 86. And, you were very helpful to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't remember. I'm sorry to say.
Well, you helped me buy some cars.
Oh, right.
Good.
Good.
Because my family business sold a big piece of property in Fort Worth. And so I got a chunk of money, and I sort of felt like I should give. I had just stopped living with Elizabeth Okamura Twomey in Bolinas for like 8-9 years, and so I thought I should give her. I thought I'd buy her a car. She needed a car, and then I thought I should buy my ex-wife, Diane Goldschlag, car, and I thought I needed one. So I don't know how it came about, but you told me that you could help because I wanted a Toyota, and your family had Saint. What's the name of that place? San.
Well, they had
San.
Yeah.
You know, the place in L.A.
Yeah, well, it's my dad's name. It was Lynch Sheridan Toyota.
Yeah.
He owned a Toyota agency.
Santa Monica.
That's right. That's right, in Santa Monica. And I guess I fixed you up then.
You sure did. The comptroller said to me, I don't know how you swung this, but we're losing money on these cars.
That's great.
Thank you.
It's so funny because I just recently, after I got a funny story about my dad. After I got my PhD in psychology, I called my dad. I said, Dad, I graduated. I got my doctorate. He said to me, well, are you ready to go into the car business? Right?
Uh-huh.
So now you know why I practiced Zen. It was so funny because I can't get away from cars. And just recently, I bought 2 of my children cars. And so I'm always dealing with cars coming and going. I can't get away from it no matter how hard I try. So my dad right now is in his grave having the last laugh is all I can say.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I have the opposite karma now. Been in Bali a little over 10 years, and I don't drive. We don't have a vehicle. We don't even ride bicycles. I won't get on a motor scooter. Katrinka will ride with a friend. But I'm real happy not to be driving.
I hear you.
Yeah. And the traffic here is there's really bad traffic here. They got these really narrow roads, and they keep just getting more and more tourists and people from other islands. And the people from other islands more and more are bringing their own cars when they come over. So it's just like one big traffic jam and a lot of it. But everybody's so polite.
Yes.
I was talking, our best friends from Japan just came over. They come over every year, and I've known them for over 30 years. And I told Jay and Kyoko, I told Jay that. I said, man, I have never seen road rage here, and people are cooperative. He said, yeah, same thing in Japan. I think maybe Japan's less cooperative. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're awfully cooperative here. I mean, you can turn in front of people here,
Yeah.
But, God, you got to be careful in America.
Well, it's really insane. And we were recently driving in California, and I couldn't wait to be done. Between the tailgating, the high speeds, and the crowded roads. But up here, as you know, Port Townsend, I've got one road and one light in the 7 miles on my way to town, and no billboards and no hanging wires. So I'm just looking at trees and the road. And there are accidents up here because of the road and the weather, black ice and snows and rain and staging, whatever. But I'm glad to be in a small town, and I don't drive very much either. Just go to the market and not put on too many miles.
Yeah, Port Townsend's a good town to walk in.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Port Townsend. I used to go there and visit Nels home, and Silas and Bill Porter, and I've done 3 book signings in Port Townsend.
Really?
Yeah, and 3 or 4. Yeah, I'd always go there if I was doing one. I go to Spokane, Port Townsend, Seattle, and Bellingham. All 4 places.
Oh, nice town. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
And I was at one of those, and I counted 7 people who had studied with Suzuki Roshi.
It's very interesting to me. After our last email, and you said all these people up here, and I recently have become friends with Bill Porter and the other 2 Zen guys I knew of but didn't know them so well. I think Silas was at Tassajara when we were there, I think, or right around then. But I was thinking, how come we end up here? What happens?
Mm-hmm.
How come I ended up here? Because it's a weird, a whole weird combination of events that I ended up in Port Townsend. But there's something about it up here that is, you're very close to nature. You can't avoid that. And it's a small town, very conscious, pretty liberal part of it. And there's a lot of wonderful things that go on here, too.
Yeah.
Cultural things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I know a Tai Chi teacher there. What's his name? God.
One guy named Michael. Is that who?
Yeah, Michael.
Yeah. I don't know him personally. Yeah. He's been teaching a while up here.
Yeah. I first met him, I think, at Green Gulch in about 85. No, earlier than that. Earlier than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, he would come to book signings and bring students with him. Anyway, he's a pretty interesting guy. You might want to meet him. I just can't remember his last name.
Yeah, I know where he teaches, so I can find him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gilman.
That's right.
Michael Gilman.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that's neat. That's neat. Now, where'd you get your PhD in psychology?
I did that. Well, I got my first degree was in anthropology at Berkeley, UC Berkeley. And then at another school that was kind of a experimental university, I got a master's in communication psychology. And then I did a 4-year doctorate down in San Diego at a school. I don't know if they still exist. It was USIU. It's an international university for people who were already practicing therapists. And so they had a program structured so you could still work in your week and attend on weekends and during the week. But you had to do 4 years, including a 1-year internship and a dissertation. It was a formal degree, but that was down there. And then I spent, decades being a therapist and being a consultant and raising a family. And meanwhile, I kept practicing, and I was glad when everything started to slow down.
Huh. Yeah. Wow. A therapist, man. We've sure had a lot of therapists, social workers, doctors, and priests come out of Zen Center, man.
Yeah.
One thing I was talking to somebody about recently, one of Suzuki's earliest students, 1960, she was there. She was there when you were there at Tulsa. Oh, no, she was there in the summer. Anyway, was there was a point at which a lot of people had been at Zen Center for 10 years, and they realized they didn't know how to make money. They didn't know how are they going to survive in the world,
Right. Right.
And I never worried about that, anything like that. But it's remarkable how well they did. And I had just thought of that recently. Trunkman's group emphasized people would come there and he'd say, get a job, They really emphasized making money. Go make money. But Zen Center didn't. And but overwhelmingly, people have done very well and found their niche. Yeah. Well, and you sure did yours. You've done well. And I think you've pretty much covered everything. You're very concise and to the point. And do you have anything else you'd like to conclude with?
Yes, there's no conclusion.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, if it gets a laugh out of you, then I said the right thing.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, that's very good. Well, hey, Ty, I'm really glad to be back in touch with you. So, thanks a lot. It's been great talking with you. Very interesting. And I'm really happy to hear how well you're doing and that you're up there. You run into anybody I know, say, if you run into Nils' son Silas, tell him hi. I will. I have something for him.
Good. He's very, very big in petanque. He's an expert petanque player.
Well, I had to look it up to know what it was. You said that in an email.
Well, he and his girlfriend are like big. She's an international champion or something. So very interesting. They're very sweet. They're living in his old house, I think, up here. But I don't know him well. But I'll make a point of saying hello to him for you.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted, David. I appreciate your call. I avoid interviews. I've been asked for them a lot, and I've avoided anything to do with public recognition. So I just wanted to write my books and put them out there, Well, so it's very nice.
Yeah.
I appreciated your questions, and it's nice, we're old pals, so it's very nice to hear from you. And, appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. And, I don't do any promotion of any kind. So,
okay.
It's just people who stumble on it, people who know about it. I don't ask people to like or share or anything. I should ask them to donate more. But I do that very rarely. See, there was a little hint right there.
Right. Hey, just let me know when you want me to upload some books to you and what format you want them, and then I'll get those prepped. I sent you some already, but don't use those. Just let me make sure that everything is up to snuff before you do anything.
I'm going to connect you with Peter about that.
Okay. Great.
And yeah, very good. I look forward to having some continued exchanges with you, and take care.
You too. Be well, David.
Yeah.
Best to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
So thanks a lot, Ty Sheridan. That was great. Really appreciate it. And thank you for doing this. And keep up the good work. And, I love Port Townsend. Maybe one day we'll meet there. But I don't know. They won't let me out of here. This has been a Cuke Audio Podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Doggy Bandita, Feline Manis, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.